And welcome back to you. A dramatic and emotional first week in the murder trial of Eddie Ray Routh. He is a former Marine who allegedly shot and killed American sniper Chris Kyle and his friend at a shooting range. One of the key witnesses this week was former County Sheriff or Deputy Gene Cole. Here is what he had to say. I heard Mr. Routh say, I shot them because they wouldn't talk to me. I was just riding in the back seat of the truck and nobody would talk to me. They were just taking me to the range, so I shot them. I feel bad about it, but they just wouldn't talk to me. I'm sure they forgive me. Well, let's bring in Misty Maris. She is a trial attorney, and Robert Schalk. He's defense attorney and former prosecutor. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So that is what the jury was left with as they took a break for the weekend. Who does that benefit the most? I mean, how does that help or hurt, first of all, the prosecution? Robert?
I think it definitely helps the prosecution because it shows the mental state that he has to acknowledge what he did, to say why he did it, and not to almost act like what happened. You know, if this was the psychosis that the defendant is claiming that happened, then how is he remembering it and speaking in such detail about it to the authorities? So I definitely think that this was a home run for the prosecution to leave the weekend on.
Oh, it absolutely was. Oh, I 100% agree. Basically, what the defense needs to show is that he didn't understand right from wrong. Right there in that quote we hear, I feel bad about it. That really says, I know that was a wrong act to commit, and that bodes very well for the prosecution, and it's very detrimental to the defense case.
What about the uncle that we heard from, who testified that he had smoked pot with him, what was it, the day of or the night before?
Right, there was, I believe it was marijuana that might have been like laced with formaldehyde, and there's alcohol found in the house and psychiatric medication, and that's something the defense is obviously going to cue in on. They executed a search warrant on the house, and all these things were found there, and it goes towards he has a history of this. In most insanity defense cases, a lot of times defendants are trying to establish insanity at the time it happened. They actually have stuff to work with where they have medical records that he was in the VA hospital a week before this happened, and so many other things that they can actually try to build a case. Listen, I don't think they're going to be successful. I mean, he killed the most popular veteran in American history, in my opinion, but they actually do have stuff to work with. But the marijuana thing is just going to all play into the psychosis.
Right. I mean, the defense is going to play up this, oh, he's a victim because he was overseas, and play on the heartstrings of the jury and say, listen, he has this mental disability because of his service to our country, but it's not going to be successful. The PTSD alone, that's not going to do it. You have to show that he didn't know right from wrong, and that's very undercut, especially by the fact that he ran away from the police officers. He took the truck and tried to escape. That really shows that you're trying to get away. You're trying to get away
and
with
we
something.
heard a 911 call from someone who in the 911 call said, I think that this guy is crazy or he's on drugs, something like that.
Yeah, his sister called 911 because after he commits this shooting, he drives to Taco Bell and buys 2 burritos, and then he drives to his sister's house, and he says to his sister, I sold my soul to the devil for a new pickup truck. He acknowledged what he did, and he then tells his sister, who calls up. Now again, but
would a sane person drive to Taco Bell after they've shot 2 people?
That's the counter argument the defense is going to lay out. That of course not. No sane person goes to Taco Bell and then drives to his sister's house and does this. However, the problem that you're going to have that the defense is going to start queuing in on is the sister says he's crazy. I mean, Chris Kyle and the other victim are texting in the truck, this guy's nuts, watch my 6. That is things that they're all going to try to use to their advantage. Again, I don't think it's going to work, but they do have that to work.
It's true, and they're going to use that to their advantage, but there's one thing about being deeply troubled and having this disability and not being culpable for murder, and that's what we're talking about here, whether or not he was culpable for murder because he knew that his actions were a crime.
So the real issue, whether he knew right from wrong, whether he knew his actions were a crime and against the law, not really whether he was insane or has the PTSD.
PTSD alone, that's not going to do it. That's really the issue. PTSD, the prosecution concedes, yes, we understand he has PTSD and he has this diagnosis, but that's not enough to absolve him of murder.
And Chris Kyle shot 6 times, and then Chad Littlefield shot, what was it, 7 times.
Right, execution style too. This wasn't some random where he turns and shoots once. Right, this is calculated, cold-blooded. That's what the prosecution's going to cue in on. Use the injuries in the autopsy reports to support it. And then again, I think the prosecution has a very, very strong case.
Right, and you know, juries aren't likely to let somebody off. They're not going to say you're not culpable for your conduct. They're already skeptical of that.
We'll see. We'll see what they decide. Thank you both for joining us. Appreciate it. And Kelly, you have some more coming up?
Sure.
Sure, Heather, thank you. Tonight on Fox News Channel, Greta Van Susteren revisits the case of Tara Grinstead, a young teacher and beauty queen who mysteriously vanished a decade ago. Here's a sneak peek.